be careful with the old beef, Dill.
Oh, shut up, you brass.
I don't know what you're worried about. I've been eating British beef all my life.
Egg and chips, please, mate.
Some of the greatest moments in Only Fools came courtesy of this fella. And at Christmas, like Santa, Trigger always delivered.
We were all such a good team, and he was a good team member, that he was lovely to work with.
I know John got complaints when Trigger wasn't in an episode long enough. You know, the Trigger fan club would write to John and say, well, Trigger was only given half a dozen lines in this episode. What are you doing?
This old broom has had 17 new heads and 14 new handles in its time.
Roger Lloyd-Patt was so brilliant.
How the hell can it be the same bloody broom then?
Well, here's a picture of it. What more proof do you need?
Roger's secret, I think, was the very, very serious face. He treated it like a tragedy, as if he was playing Hamlet.
It's one of those iconic characters that you never shake off. I don't mean as an actor, but as a person. You walk down the street and people don't go, oh, you're Trigger in Only Fools and Horses. They go, all right, Trig. I mean, they just shout at him.
And we had so much fun, you know, taking the mickey out of each other as well.
Of course, whenever he met Rodney, he would call him Dave. And he said that with confidence and solemnity. And you knew it was coming, and it was always funny.
All right, Dave.
I don't know if we ever found out why Trigger called Rodney Dave.
All right, Dave.
He never, ever, ever corpsed. We would. But he didn't, ever.
Do you know about this sort of thing then, Dave?
I seem to remember David and Nick saying about Trigger is that he always got the end of the gag. He always got the laugh in the end. They'd set it up and set it up and set it up and set it up.
Everybody would be doing dialogue, 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 and in would come Trigger with one line. And it would bring the house down.
You know, people become famous for a little while, then they disappear. Like Rennie and Renata, Simon D.
Or Gandhi. Yeah. I mean, he made one great film and then he never saw him again.
It must have driven Nick and David mad. But of course, you know, you don't not give it to him.
In 1992, for health and the environment, it became all the rage to give pesticides the push and go green.
The organic market was suddenly booming. Everyone wanted to buy something organic. And I remember when this actually happened, me thinking, well, why would I pay, you know, £1 for a tomato because it's organic? And then when bottled water came along, you're like, but you've got a tap at home. Why would you want to do that?
Well, John Sullivan saw the funny side. And for that year's Christmas special, Dell diversified into the health food market.
Every single item in this shop has been grown the way nature intended.
Oh, yeah? Oh. Well, that must be very nice for you and Cassandra to sit down to dinner knowing that everything on your plate was once under a pile of horse shit.
Del Boy's just nonplussed about the price of stuff like Brussels sprout tops, and then he sees the bottled water. Ding. And he has this idea.
A crafty hose pipe later, and Dell was sitting atop the purest Peckham spring water.
We don't actually know where the spring comes from, do we, Rodney?
No. It certainly sprung up from somewhere, isn't it?
To actually start producing Peckham Spring from his tap in Peckham, in Nelson Mandela House, and then start flogging it was just a brilliant idea.
We had an awful lot of laughs, you know, when things went wrong and water bottle caps came off, and the audience loved it, of course, when things went wrong.
The social commentary of that is really clever.
We are selling public water to the public.
That is where you're wrong. Because this water used to be public, and then Maggie, she privatised it, didn't she, eh? It now belongs to a board of directors and a load of investors. They sell it to us, we sell it on. All we're doing is repackaging it.
again, it just kind of hits that sort of thing right on the nose of what we were doing and how absurd it was, that you were paying for water that was in a bottle.
John Sullivan was always doing things like that. It was a very clever concept, a very, very clever idea.
The actual bottles used for Peckham Spring occasionally come up for auction and sell for thousands. A nice little earner Del Boy would fully approve of.
Quite a lot of people kept a bottle or two. I had a couple, but I took them home, and after a couple of years with young children, I just threw them away. But, you know, they were just in a way.
Chateau Neuf de Pape. After 3 long years without any Only Fools, in 1996, John Sullivan gave us the ultimate Christmas present, a trilogy. But there was a catch.
The 3 episodes that were filmed for 1996 were intended to be the last 3 episodes of Only Fools and Horses. In fact, originally it was only going to be 1 episode, and then they realised that actually John had written lots of material, and therefore they increased the budget, and they realised they could just about squeeze filming into everybody's schedules.
I missed Fools and Horses so much.
David turned down an extra episode of A Touch of Frost. Nick Lyndhurst postponed an episode or a series of Goodnight Sweetheart so that he could do Only Fools, because they were all really keen that they give this show that's been so popular and they've enjoyed doing the send-off that it really deserved.
In what became an iconic Christmas Day outing, heroes and villains didn't disappoint.
The script was making me laugh genuinely as an actor. It was so wonderfully put together and so funny.
And it was just the most wonderful moment to have it back on television. And you went straight back into it. There was no question of, not sure this works now, has it changed? Have the characters changed? Not at all. It was exactly as it was, and it was still as brilliant as ever.
Do you want to buy a ticket for a publican's ball?
Yeah, certainly. Which one, left or right?
And of course, it included possibly the most memorable moment in Only Fools' Christmas history, which had been safely under wraps for months.
It was terrifying because the press would arrive in droves trying to film what you were filming, so they could spoil everybody's Christmas by telling everybody before the Christmas special what the thing was about.
The streets around where we filmed it, central Bristol, we blocked off with fencing with black drapes on and put scaffolding up.
They did everything they could to make sure that image did not leak out, and of course, it didn't.
We just wanted to keep it secret for Christmas Day, I think.
What's happening?
There must be something wrong. I know. This is the one where I couldn't get it right. I couldn't stop laughing because it was so funny.
You go and have a look at the engine.
I'll have a look. I'm not getting out dressed like this.
That fantastic reveal where you see the blue booted foot coming out of the van.
So when Del Boy gets out as Batman, the woof from the audience. But then Rodney gets out. That was an even bigger woof because he looked ridiculous. He looked, this lanky boy as Robin.
You know, it's men in tights, it's underpants over your tights, all of which is funny about superheroes anyway. But then it's Del and Rodney, and it's, you know, and it's their build, it's just perfect. You know, Rodney's tall and thin, Del isn't tall and thin. And so it's just brilliant.
You had 2 ways of going. You either did it in reality, in real life, which was you'd have these ill-fitting Batman and Robin costumes because they would be tired and old and ill-fitting, right? Or you have costumes that you have made that are so correct in terms of the idea of Batman and Robin.
Will you get back inside the van? I don't want people seeing you dressed like that. You look like a right Wally.
So I thought about it for a while, and I thought, well, what is the best comic effect?
We took all night doing it, and it was probably about 3 or 4 shots.
The counsellor, her expression on her face was so brilliant that you couldn't stop laughing.
Dale! Let's go!
We were probably talking about it for 6 months afterwards because it was just so funny.
The best moment on television and never, ever to be forgotten. It was truly wonderful.
Those are magic moments that the nation shared together, and it's something that ain't going to happen again.
Coming up, Christmas with the Trotters takes us from tragedy.
We decided to play it a different, slightly different way than we would normally do.
To triumph.
It's a brilliant storyline because, obviously, when the line was this time next year, Rodney will be millionaires, in fact, they had been millionaires all along.